Okay, we have Frederik. Wonderful.
That was Nikki.
So, yes, my friend. So good to see you. So during these tours, we of course all meet in person, and as you've recognized, there's a lot of hugging, even virtually. But when we meet in real, there's really seriously a lot of hugging before everything starts, because one of the reasons why I enjoy these tours so much is that I've made so many wonderful friends during this program.
Okay, Benny.
Frederik, one of them. Frederik, I met before I even started with the tours. On my very first day in San Francisco, we had a meeting, and ever since then, almost every time I'm there, we see each other, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
It's been 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years.
I like your background.
Yes, it's nice, right? It's a Google office.
Yes.
They were so
Beautiful.
kind offering me office space because it's empty, so I can come every day and work there.
Awesome.
A quick introduction, although I've just shared a little about you 10 minutes ago. Frederik has this wonderful journey of from startups that went high rising to bellies up, all the different colors and shapes and tastes that you can live in the startup life, to finally finding this passion with the purpose of companies' growth, or that idea and the task of growing companies massively, rapidly. He's the director of growth of BirdEye. As I said before, above everything else, for me, a wonderful inspiration, a mentor, and a really good friend. That being said, I'd love to pass it all to you. The format, because this is the first virtual tour, the format is pretty much as if we would meet in person. So
okay, we
can either listen to you or have this as a fluid conversation. You're the conductor of the orchestra.
Awesome.
And I'm recording the session. There will be also the recording available for everyone. Also, you can revisit it, or if you think like you don't want to have it shared with anyone, that's also okay. There's some phone to be muted. Done.
Awesome.
That's it.
Well, I would love to.
The virtual stage is yours.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody, and pleasure to meet you guys. And would love to better understand who you are and what your goal is with participating in the tour, the virtual tour, and to what you would like to take away from the session and what you would like to learn or hear about.
Okay, so I'm unmuting Scott to begin with. You have to unmute yourself sometimes. Oh, yes.
Hey there. Actually, I'm just here to learn, just genuine idea sharing, no specific goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me know, chime in whenever with questions or whatnot.
Yanis.
Awesome.
Hi, Frederik.
Maybe share a little background and just like a few seconds.
Who you are as well. Exactly.
So I'm a community builder from Germany. I know Nikki from the TEDx framework, hosted a few conferences myself, and currently heavily diving into the topic of tackling the issue of loneliness and how to establish human connection on scale. And I think what is quite interesting for me in this session is since you seem to be an expert on growth and to help companies grow as fast as possible, to understand if growth is always the solution, or kind of what the dangers are to avoid while focusing on increasing impact and outreach.
Absolutely. And there are many pitfalls for sure.
Anders. Right, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
So I'm Anas. Hello. I'm studying product development and innovation in Denmark, and I think I would want to know more about how companies fast. And as Yanis said,
How what?
our companies are growing really fast. And as Yanis said, also the pitfalls that might be in this growth, and if it might always be the best solution.
Yes. Martin.
Yeah.
I unmuted you. We can hear you.
Hello. Well, I'm interested on your startup background, and I saw you had a little bit of roller coaster experience. So I would be interested in the highs and also in the deeps. So I'm looking forward to hear more about your experience.
Awesome.
Nice. Frederik. Oops, wait.
Yeah, great. It's unmuted now. Yes. I'm Frederik. I also study product development and innovation with Anders. And we should have been on a study trip in Silicon Valley to visit a lot of exciting places. Yeah, recently, but that of course got cancelled. So now we're doing this instead. And I'm here to learn a lot of new things and hear about a lot of subjects that I wouldn't normally be taught in school necessarily. So it's very interesting.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, I mean, you're definitely missing out. Let me quickly find some. I have some slides that I sometimes use just to tell the story. Let me just quickly find them.
If you want, I can in the meantime introduce Dita and Adam. They're both on listening mode right now. Adam will join video a little later. Dita is actually occupied with many things, and he said he can't make it today, but he made me earlier that he don't want to miss it, so at least he's listening because he enjoyed the previous session so much. So that's wonderful. Yeah. Dita works at one of the largest retail chains in Austria in the sports industry, Intersport. And he's responsible for the rent. I think it's 190 branches. Of course, he's very interesting in hearing all sorts of changes that are happening right now. The COVID is a fire accelerator. Everything that should happen or was supposed to happen in the next 5 years is happening in 5 weeks right now. So everyone has to adjust and change to a future that might have been ahead of the business anyways, and now it's in front of the door or it's in the living room, literally. So there are a lot of aspects that are relevant for him, and I'm sure growth hacking is something that's highly relevant for him. So I'm sure that even though he can't really contribute a lot, if there's something he wants to know, he will chat me and I'll ask for him. But I know that he's very passionately listening to you. And then we have Adam. Adam Montenden is the most creative and craziest person I've ever met in my life. We met exactly 10 years ago for the first time. He told me 10 years ago, if you think of something big and it's doable, you don't think big enough, which instantly turned into the motto of my life. I love his way of seeing the world. He had a company in England and is teacher at the university in Denmark right now, I think in Odense. And Anders and Frederik are his students. So they intended to be in person on site, and now I'm really happy that the two of them or the three of them joined the virtual tour, and I think they're taking much out of it. So that's the group. No, wait. We have Masarat. We had Masarat. She'll probably be in and out. She's one of the TEDx organizers in London. And Letizia, she is on a farm in Uruguay with a very unstable internet connection. So she might revisit the recording of the session or join in and out and ask questions. So there are the four where we probably will have them now and then popping in and out. Please don't take this as a matter of being impolite or partly interested. It's more of a circumstances situation. So that said, I'm putting the virtual stage. Virtual stage is all yours, and I'm super excited and passionate and happy, and can't wait to listen to you.
Awesome. So let me see how I can do this with the screen share and still seeing you guys as well.
If you're, yeah.
So this seems to work. I don't want to take you through boring slides, but I give you a brief background on, and then we can dive right into the topics that you talked about earlier. I'm originally from Germany, came to the Bay Area in 2006, and studied computer science and business. And my very first job took me to a small startup in Vienna named Jaja. At that time, it was a competitor to Skype. And we had a small office in the 15th district in Vienna, and started working on a tool to make voice over IP communications cheaper, easier, better, and had a fairly like novel approach to it. And it took us about, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 months to get to the first launch prototype with a small team. And we, our first client was still very much Skype-like, meaning something that you download and you can make a voice over IP internet telephony phone call over the internet, and saving a bunch of money. And we had just launched, and we had our first, like, celebrating our first 10,000 or 20,000 users, and it kind of like took off well, but not in a big scale just yet. And somebody from Sequoia Capital, which is one of the top VC firms here in the Bay Area, and I'm currently in Mountain View. Palo Alto is the next neighboring town, and between Palo Alto and Redwood City is the Sandhill Road, and that's where all the big VCs in the Bay Area are located. And Sequoia Capital is one of them. They've invested early in HP and Apple and and Netscape and Atari, and really are one of the big players. Anyways, some partner from Sequoia Capital saw somebody using our Jaja client on an airplane and contacted us. And they wanted to set up a meeting, and said, we had like one phone call or so, and said, hey, we want to meet in person. We want to see what you guys are actually doing. And so let me take 2 steps back, because it actually took place here. And one of the Sequoia partners was supposed to come to our offices in Vienna. And we worked really hard for like a whole week on our business plan, on what we are going to do, what the financial outlook will be, what our product roadmap looks like, and all that. And we had a big folder like this with printed slides and a presentation plan and all that. And finally the partner comes in the morning, and we also hand him the whole deck and our business plan. And he said, oh, thanks, I don't read business plans, I just want to hear about your idea. And so we had all this work for kind of like nothing, but it was good to be well prepared. And that what really blew him away was our next iteration of the product, which takes the whole downloading a client out of the equation. And what we did is we assign you a local number for wherever you are, in Copenhagen or in London, or in Vienna or in San Francisco. So you have a local number to dial for your international contact. So if a friend of mine is in Melbourne, and I would dial a local Mountain View US number, and it would ring his phone in Melbourne at a local voice over IP rate. So it's 2 local calls anywhere in the world connected over voice over IP. They liked that idea with these alias numbers, and we were one of the first to actually fully roll that out and do that. And a week later, we had $1 million on our bank account, and they said, forget about Vienna, you guys have to be in the Bay Area. That's where the future is, and that's where your partners will be, and we will help you make those introductions as well. So 2 steps forward, that that was my ticket to the Bay Area. I had never really planned on really being here, but my computer science teacher or professor at the university, he had summer lectures here in Berkeley and at Stanford, and he had planted the seed back in the day, late 90s, and said, there's really something happening there. You guys have to check it out at some point if you have the opportunity. And that had at least planted the seed of the idea that I want to check it out someday and see what's happening here. And this is just San Francisco. The Bay Area is pretty much the stretch between San Jose and San Francisco. It's a, we have the inner bay, which you can see there, the inner San Francisco Bay connected to the Pacific Ocean. And then we are protected actually by a small mountain range towards the ocean, which is just like 20 miles away, and which allows us here in the so-called peninsula to have great weather all the time. And you can hear the birds tweeting outside. It's springtime here, and pretty fantastic year round. So I packed my suitcase and came to the Bay Area, started off in the Sequoia incubator offices, which used to be home to Sergey Brin and Larry Page as well, the two Google founders. So they have a whole floor at their Central Road offices where they bring in the young companies that they invest in, and some of the biggest companies and founders have been on that floor. And saw Mike Moritz every day, who is kind of the founder of Sequoia Capital, and it was kind of like a real hit in the face of, I guess this is what it is. But we found our own offices for Jaja here in Mountain View, where I am right now as well. And that was in 2006 and the start of my journey here in the Bay Area. I have been with a total of 7 companies now here, which makes it for around every 2 to 3 years. It's kind of like where a company is either set up for great growth or tanks. So as for the track record, Talent House is still going and fairly well, which is also where I still have a significant amount of shares in the company, which is something that is very common here in the Bay Area or in startup world, that whenever you join any sort of startup or company, you get a percentage share in the company as well. So you're much more vested in the success of the company, and it feels part of your own, and you run it like you would your own company. You're frugal with the money. You make the decisions as if you would be very much part of the company, and work hard in order to make it succeed as well. So Jaja was the first part of that journey. Great to see it from beginning to end, because I joined Jaja when we were like 6 people. I went from the business computer science side into marketing pretty much right away. Never intended to really code for the rest of my life, and had much more fun in the communications, growth hacking, marketing side of the business. And it took us about 4 years for Jaja to mature. Started with like a team of 6 people. In the end, we were about 150, 160 people. And we were powering the voice over IP backend for the Microsoft Messenger, for Yahoo, and for a bunch of big dating sites like Match.com. And that was our B2B business. And I think a huge part of what made the value of the company up as well, because we had built this kind of like voice over IP backend to then power some of the big wigs in the voice over IP messaging space. So Jaja was acquired by Telefonica, which is the biggest cell phone provider or company in the world, Spanish company. And then we went on to actually found Talent House, also there as part of the founding team and launching the company, similar to Jaja as well. SWIP, I was also part of the founding or the team that launched the company. I was not a founder, but there from the very beginning. Jawbone is known for their Bluetooth speakers and wearables. I spent about 7 years in consumer wearables, which are fitness trackers and smartwatches. Jawbone was one of the first in 2011 to launch those. And due to mismanagement, was overrun by Fitbit, which actually came later. And I can go deeper into the story, but we raised $1 billion, 1 Milliarde, in venture funding for Jawbone, and still managed to run it into the ground. So it was over 600 people, beautiful offices in San Francisco. Nikki has been there, 3 floors, right smack in the design district, next to Airbnb and Zynga. And so, the founder was, he had a Steve Jobs complex. He thought he was the next big thing in Silicon Valley. And unfortunately, you see that quite a bit with founders and CEOs here, where it kind of like goes to the head a little bit. And then I joined Lumo, which was a smaller wearable startup, and shortly after got an offer from Huami, which is part of Xiaomi. Xiaomi is a gigantic Chinese company, makes all sorts of consumer electronics. And Huami is the wearable arm of Xiaomi, meaning the Mi Band and all their fitness trackers and smartwatches are made by Huami. We had an amazing run, was there also fairly early on, hired to grow the international business. And we went from like 20 million to 200 million in 2 years in revenue, and really skyrocketed that market for the company outside of China as well. And in February of 2018, we went public here at the New York Stock Exchange, which I can now check off my bucket list to have been on the floor and ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Talent House is still going, and the other 3 are no longer companies in existence. And that's what I meant earlier with, or you refer to it as the roller coaster of what it takes. And I'll go more into the details of how it feels if you are inside of it and running these companies. And what kind of like makes the Bay Area such a vibrant ground for startups and growth of small companies is an ecosystem that has evolved here out of the kind of like Stanford University, which had a lot of bright minds that came here, and some of the earliest silicon chip companies, that's where the name obviously comes from, were founded from kind of like Stanford incubated startups. And so you have a lot of people, and I wish you could be here as well. It's actually quite a lovely area. There's a lot of talent coming here from all over the world, obviously attracted by the companies and the entire ecosystem. Like I said, there's a lot of willingness to invest in ideas, and that's where the capital is coming from. Lots of big VCs, venture capitalists that are willing to invest in new ideas as well. And we can talk later about what it takes to actually successfully raise money here. There's obviously the spirit. Even in our team, we could see that. In Vienna at the time, we were like, I don't know, 35 people, but only 8 of us actually decided to just pack our suitcases and come to the Bay Area. And many others were like, well, but I have my girlfriend here, I don't want to go. And so you already have a natural selection of people that are drawn by the innovation that is happening here, and by maybe leaving their hometown as well to try their journey in a different city, country, and environment as well. Then the network and the partners is something that the Sequoia said, that's why you guys have to be here. And they obviously made also the initial introductions to the Yahoos, Microsofts, and so on in the world, who ended up being our biggest partners and our biggest revenue drivers for Jaja as well. We had about 30 million B2C customers as well, but the majority of the money was made on the B2B side, which is actually a very reoccurring theme. The consumer market is a very, very tough market to crack. It takes a lot of capital to build a brand on the consumer side, as you may know. And 1 or 2 big B2B deals can make up for hundreds of thousands of consumers that you painstakingly acquired. Lots of like-minded people, willingness to take risks. There is some sort of relentless optimism here, meaning we can do this. I believe in this idea, even if it hasn't been done before, but that's also kind of like the drive for the innovation. And with many ideas, when they first started out, with like a Twitter or an Instagram or even a Facebook, they didn't really exist like that before, like the concept of Twitter. But now we know that it has become kind of like a staple communication tool for instant news that, that somebody thought of. This might be a cool idea to do this, and now everybody knows about it. And that's very common around here. And please chime in with questions anytime you want. But you were talking about the potentials of when growth or investing in the growth of the company is the right time. And the biggest pitfall for most companies, not only in the Bay Area, but anywhere else in the world, is your product market fit. Meaning there are plenty of ideas, especially here in the Bay Area as well, that that just have come out of some, I don't know, some fluke moment, and are maybe not valid in the market. And that's why it's important to create maybe an early MVP, a minimal viable product, and test it with real customers, meaning getting it out there. I'm gonna quickly close the door here for a second. Sorry. Two blue jays in the backyard, which are entirely bluebirds here and local. It's really important to test and validate your assumptions with real people. And there have been so many companies who like worked for a year or more on a product and launched it just to see that there is not a big enough addressable market, or they're totally missing what these customers need. And that's why it's so crucial to really test and validate and build a product that obviously people want and need. And many ideas here come out of some entrepreneur thinking that their immediate problem here is what is everybody else's problem. There are startups here where you can pretty much call another person, like an Uber, to pick up your dog's poop. And that's very much a first world problem that is, I think, very like misguided. And so there are, and then there are other products that really make our lives easier. Atlassian has developed a whole range of amazing tools to create great workflows for engineering teams and so on, and evolve over time. And so I think you cannot invest in marketing and growth until you have really found product market fit. You can obviously do tests and invite, I don't know, do some smart initial campaigns to at least get the first 1,000 people or 2,000 people to test your product, but then iterate quickly, make the changes that are needed in order to really provide value to your potential customers and solve a problem. We call it here the vitamin and painkiller comparison. Way too many companies are vitamins, meaning they might be a nice to have, meaning they're not really solving a true problem. They're just like, well, it's nice to have this. And the painkillers are the ones that maybe really help you in that moment to solve for a problem. And so a common question and good question to ask is, for your early users, if I were to take this product away from you today, how would that make you feel? How sad would you be about not being able to use this product anymore? And if the answer is, well, I mean, it was really nice, but I probably could live without it, then you're probably not really there yet. So if it solves a real problem, then the customer or beta tester will tell you, no, I really want this. Here are some of the ideas of how I would improve it, but I cannot live without this anymore. And so
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
How typically around there do people afford the testing? That stage of testing, is there, I don't know, do angels or loans come into the equation, or people just happen to have cash, or do they just do like sort of really low fidelity prototypes?
So you definitely can find angel investors who believe in your idea enough to give you an initial investment in order to build your first prototype or MVP. Another great way is we have a bunch of incubators here in the Bay Areas that like Y Combinator, 500 Startups, and a bunch of other ones that allow you to do just that. So they take the initial risk. They give you sometimes $50,000 to $100,000, invite you to the Bay Area, provide you with office space and living space, and give you access to their entire network of advisors. And that's, during that time, oftentimes a 3 to 6 months program. You aim to build your MVP, get to a somewhat launch-ready product, come up with your initial campaign idea on how you attract the first couple of customers. They can help you with that as well. And then you can pitch the idea to get either some proper seed funding, which can be in the range of a couple of $100,000 to a couple of $1 million even, and then start testing. And yes, it can be fairly low fidelity, because in the end, you just want to communicate the concept and the idea of what you're trying to do, and have some of the first people get their hands on it. So incubators, seed investment, angel investments are all an option there. And then many companies also bootstrap it, meaning the founders themselves have maybe worked at other startups before and have made a little bit of money, and then can invest the first, I don't know, $500,000 or so, and invest in the team on their own account. Does that answer your question?
Gotcha. Thanks. Yeah.
Awesome. So the growth process is something that is fairly intuitive, but really has taken off, I would say, in the past. When did I first do this? Around like 2010, 2012 or so. And even at Jawbone, I was hired as director of growth, which is a cross-functional process, and really what we're having a North Star metric, and it can change. It means that you're optimizing ideas, campaigns, and processes around optimizing that specific metric. And for Facebook, for instance, one of the North Star metrics was to at least add, I think, 10 friends within the first 7 days. Otherwise, the product itself doesn't make too much sense, or it's not fun for you. Meaning that's what you as the growth team or as the marketing team or the product team had to reach to get people to add at least 10 friends in the first week of using it, because otherwise your feed is going to look empty and it just doesn't make any sense to you. So this North Star metric can be all sorts of different things. It could be lowering churn. It could be higher retention rates. It could be getting improving the payback period, like efficiency metrics, or improving, And so usually as the leadership team or as somebody leading the growth team, you decide upon this metric, and then you have a high tempo process, testing a lot of ideas that will contribute to achieving that goal. And you obviously have to prioritize these ideas, and you do really rapid tests. And at Jawbone, we were like 12 people cross-functionally that were part of the growth team, but they were from marketing, from product, from operations, from engineering, from customer support. And so you have a whole range from finance, a whole range of people that can think about this from a cross-functional perspective. So it's not just the marketing team, I don't know, doing something weird, but it has all the aspects of the companies that are important here. And so you're looking at the entire kind of funnel, where it's about the acquisition of a potential customer, activating them, meaning for them to take action and maybe signing up for your service, making sure that you can retain them, that they're happy with your product, that you can turn these people into revenue and make them so happy that they are become fans of your products and refer your product as well. And the referral part is a hugely important part in the growth process, because if you have a viral coefficient of greater than 1, meaning that every new customer who comes in refers at least one new person to you, then you have real growth happening for you, because then you can reach that exponential growth. And there have been companies where a single person is so happy that they referred to 8 or 14 people, and then obviously you have a really great viral coefficient. This is the growth process that we not only implemented at Jawbone, but at every company thereafter. and even before that. But now it's really ingrained into what we do on a daily basis. So I now have a team of 30 people, which is also across marketing and finance and engineering and product and customer success. And it's about obviously projects that we need to tackle, ideas for campaigns or strategies that help us achieve our goal. One of our big goals right now is to improve our marketing efficiency, meaning to decrease the payback period. And the payback period is how much does it cost you to acquire a single customer? And then how long does it take to make up for that cost with the revenue that comes in? So a payback period can be, let's say it costs you $300 to acquire this customer, and after 3 months you make, and it's $100 per month product or service, and after 3 months you make up for the cost that it costs you to acquire this customer, so you have a 3 months payback period. Right now we have channels that are in a, 32 months payback period, meaning it takes multiple years to make up for the cost of acquiring that customer. And we have other channels which are highly efficient. So we're kind of like working on a bunch of systems to alleviate or improve the efficiency of some of our not so efficient channels. And we're working with 17 different marketing channels right now. Then it's about rigorous prioritization of your projects. We have a meeting every Monday morning. And I can show you in a minute how that looks like. Where we prioritize based on how easy is this project to implement, how much impact does it have, and then we start executing on these projects. And we are on weekly sprints, meaning on Monday we decide upon the projects that we are taking up and work a week on implementing them. And every Sunday night I have a call with our engineering team, and then they start implementing these things that we have worked on, maybe the concept, the design, the copy, and so on, to then get them live on our website. And then obviously you analyze the results, you compare it to your initial hypothesis, because if I do this, then we expect this outcome to happen. And a lot of these can be conversion rate optimization tests, they can be A/B tests. We pretty much have 5 to 10 projects or tests running on our site at any given time. So Nikki would see a different homepage than Frederik or somebody else who has been recently on our website, and it can be a different layout or different copy or different CTAs, call to actions, meaning are we pushing you towards a free trial or watching our demo or pricing or scanning your business or whatever it might be. And then over time, you accumulate these learnings, you optimize for them, you know what your high performing CTAs are, you know what messaging resonates well with customers, and you keep repeating that process. And most of the tools that we use are even free. We use Google Optimize, which allows you to do these setups. It's very similar to Optimizely, which is a big company and a paid service, but it allows you to keep testing and iterating. And like I said, you should only really invest in this process of trying to maximize your efficiency and your company growth when you have achieved product market fit. Because beforehand, you're just throwing money, energy, and ideas at something that is bound to fail anyways. And so that first step is absolutely critical. And I'll leave it at that. I don't even want to go through too many more slides. I can briefly tell you what BirdEye is, and these have these slides are very outdated. It's about that marketing has changed, and that marketing today is current customers talking to future customers. And what we do at BirdEye is we empower companies with tools that they need in order to succeed. And we only sell to businesses, meaning it's not a consumer product. We sell software to local businesses to allow them to communicate with their customers more easily and effectively, which can be live chat, web chat, making your landline phone number textable, making it easy for companies to text their customers. Whenever I drop my car off at my mechanic, he just can send me a text message through BirdEye saying, hey, your car is ready for pickup, instead of trying to call me and get me on the phone. And the same with appointments with doctors and so on. And I'll just very briefly put it up here. And so it's, and then we help companies with online reputation management, meaning aggregating all their online reviews that they might have on many different sites, and allowing them to automate the review generation process. And that doesn't mean that they're coming from some fake source. It only means that we integrate with their invoicing system or customer relationship management system, and there are thousands out there, and we integrate with like 1,200 or so, where if my lawyer or dentist or a mechanic would issue the invoice, it also triggers a BirdEye request as a text message and as an email that says, hey, I hope you enjoyed your last visit. Would you mind leaving us a review on Google or on Facebook or on ZocDoc or so? But you will definitely not have heard of BirdEye because it's strictly B2B and selling to businesses. But it's a huge category and very important to businesses. You can see here some of the products that we offer. Also to keep your listings up to date, which means that you might have your business listed on Yext.com, on Google, on Facebook, and maybe 80 other sites. And right now, during COVID-19, or if you have any other changes, you can just change your hours or any sort of message within BirdEye, and then it's automatically updated across all of them. And interactions allows you obviously to communicate with your customers. And then there are a lot more services that go into providing you with surveys and actionable insights and competitive benchmarking and ticketing and so on. And it's a whole suite of tools and products. and kind of like looks like this. And you can see everything here, and it allows you to kind of like manage your business. And that gave you a brief overview of my journey here in the Bay Area and how we kind of like approach growth marketing or the growth process. We have it pretty fine-tuned by now. And yeah, I'm open to questions as well, and can go deeper into how hard it can be sometimes to go through this roller coaster of building and growing companies here in the Bay Area.
Thank you so much, Frederik. That was great. I love what you're doing. I'm totally excited about the growth hacking concepts. The growth hackers are actually also sending me material. I'm trying to move on with that, running workshops on growth hacking as well. I've been certified by Pietro as a growth hacker.
Awesome.
The very last things that I managed to have them on site before, and Europeans are banned to immigrate to the United States. Questions, everyone? Let me know what you think. Let us know what you think. Challenge Frederik. Just unmute yourself and kick it off.
So your category officially is growth marketing. That's what you would say? Because there's a lot sort of going on.
My job, it's I mean, I'm leading marketing and growth, but yeah, it's called growth marketing now. Yeah. So it's really looking at not just spending a bunch of money on Google Ads. It's much more kind of like a creative process of, for instance, we built business profiles similar to Yelp as well, where we have over 10 million business profiles nowadays. They're SEO optimized, and we generate them for all the businesses in the United States. They show up fairly high in a Google ranking, meaning if you Google yourself as a company, then your BirdEye profile might show up really high and has an aggregated view of all your reviews on all the different platforms out there. And then if you kind of like claim your own business profile, that's a way for us to be introduced to this company as an entity that exists out there. And obviously by claiming their profile, they then are taken through a flow and explaining also, what is BirdEye? What can we do for you? What are the great tools that we can provide to you as a business to be taking care of your online reputation, communicating effectively and easily with your customers, really understanding what your customers are saying, and becoming great in customer experience management as well. And so that is definitely some of the things that we have built. And then obviously we experiment a lot with how we present pricing and demos, what is gated, what is not gated, and so on. But yeah, the category would be called growth marketing.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Oh, go for it.
You can just take it away, Scott.
It bubbled up mistakes related to the growth of like any part of this journey. I guess one of them, I guess the one I remember is product market fit not being right and trying to take too many steps forward at that point. I guess the other one that comes to mind is growing too fast and not having the logistics to support the new customers, I guess, and not being able to keep up with that. But what are a few other, or are there a few other maybe bullets to consider?
I mean, the latter is obviously a nice to have, and it's a fine line. So at SWIP, for instance, we also had to decide in the beginning, do we invest months and months of work in a super elaborate back-end server infrastructure that can then manage millions of people? Or do we invest in something that is much more MVP and can handle maybe easily 100,000 people, but would kind of like slow down when we cross the, I don't know, 200,000, 300,000 threshold. And so in the end, I mean, oftentimes with company launches, there are delays, but we opted for the more MVP version. And I think it was the right way to do. I mean, in the end, that was one of the companies that we ended up shutting down as well. But had we invested in this giant infrastructure that can handle and manage millions and millions of people, would be very costly to implement and would have delayed maybe the launch by another 4, 5, 6 months, you can already see that would have been the wrong decision to make. So it's really important to kind of like also gauge when to go big. And you can get to the product market fit with something that is more low fidelity. Because I have another presentation where it says like, fuck the features. It's really about your core product idea that has to resonate with your customers and hit a nerve and solve a problem for them. And if you have already missed that, just putting more bells and whistles onto your thing, and yes, but it can also, like, I don't know, make this really cool sound when you press this button, then that's not really going to help you with your product market fit.
Oh, Frederik, I'm going to hit you on that presentation next time. Suck already.
I have a question about the ecosystem. So you have a little bit, so I hope you are sometimes again in Germany or in Europe.
Yeah.
And if you compare the systems, do you think that Europe has any chance?
Yes, absolutely. Lots of opportunities and chances. Sometimes it's a little bit about the overall initial mindset, and we know that from Europe, where people sometimes aim to have a job for 10, 20 years or for the rest of their life, and they're just staying with the, like, Siemens and are happy there because that's what you aim to do. That's what my father did, or mother, or whatever it might be. So the idea of switching jobs every 2 to 3 years is, or even, I don't know, starting 2 companies, failing at both, and then trying to do a third one and still getting venture funding. So it's this kind of like fast learning, opportunistic process, rather than kind of like this more old school mindset of creating a mid-sized business for the rest of my time on this planet. And I think that's where some of the major differences maybe are. But from a talent perspective, I think obviously you have, in the bigger cities, you have tons of startups happening in every country, in Berlin, Paris, London, Copenhagen, Vienna, wherever it might be. You have these startup hubs, and slowly you also have more seed and angel investors there as well, who have maybe made some money already in their initial startups as well, and then are willing to invest into young founders. So lots of great tools, but it's not all about the tools. It's just about getting organized.
Frederik, that was wonderful. We have Roger already in the chat here. Thank you so much. I'm going to connect you as usual with everyone here in the room, and you can follow up with Frederik.
Yeah, feel free to connect on LinkedIn, obviously.
I'll share all these connections with you in the follow-up email.
Exactly. LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever. I'm always open to answering more questions as well as they might come up. I can tell you that it's a very exciting journey. I have found my new home here in the Bay Area, and obviously my family as well. I still come to Europe once a year or so, but this is my new home and environment, and I think I will do this for many more years.
So much. As we've learned from our social entrepreneur Michael yesterday, there is no hug anymore, so we're doing this. No, here's the heart. As a hug to you. Thank you so much for this. It was a great session. I hope you have a great day ahead. For you, the day begins. For us,
the day begins. This is my first meeting of the day. Yes, from my home office, obviously. I had to set up my desk and everything here in the bedroom. It's the most quiet place because in the living room I have my dog and cat and wife and daughter, and so I'm
also very convenient and smart. You're kind of making the quarantine that you spend 1 week in one room only. That gives you the feeling that you actually have the chance to move around.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.